Hey, Lasheena.
Here we are. All right.
How's it
We are
going?
live. Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here with you today.
Same here. We are excited to be able to talk about unmasking nonprofit marketing, why some nonprofits are a best kept secret.
That's
So if
right.
you are joining us today, go ahead and invite your friends because you don't want to miss out on this topic. If you are go ahead and tag them into the group. If you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay in the chat box. Let us know that you are here. Tell us a hello, good morning, so that we know that you are here. Today, we're going to be talking about unmasking nonprofit marketing, why some nonprofits are a best kept secret. And hopefully, after listening to this session, you will no longer be the best kept secret. All right, we'll give it a few minutes before we get started. Joe, I can't wait for us to dive into this conversation.
I know I'm excited as well.
Yes.
I'm going to have to.
All right, so if you join us, go ahead and tag your friends. If they're not in a group, invite them into the group. And we're going to get started shortly. Give us a howdy doody that you're here. And we're going to be talking about unmasking nonprofit marketing, why some nonprofits are a best kept secret. And this month's theme is marketing and public relations. So get ready for the conversations that's about to happen this month. We have a lot of guests coming on and joining us and sharing their experience in the marketing and public relations. And we're excited to be able to kick off this conversation today. So we're going to give it a few minutes before we get started, and we're going to hop in on the conversation. Again, we're talking about unmasking nonprofit marketing, why some nonprofits are a best kept secret. There we go. We got the view. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm excited to have this conversation about, I'm just excited for this entire month, talking about marketing and public relations for nonprofits, because sometimes we get so caught up in our programs, our services, and every other aspect that we forget about the importance of telling our story and marketing what we do. So I am glad, Joe, that today you're going to be talking about why some nonprofits are a best kept secret. So let's go ahead and kick off the conversation as to why. Why are nonprofits a best kept secret?
Well, Lasheena, oftentimes nonprofit organizations really don't want to invest in providing the necessary resources for marketing. It feels like I'm talking a little slower. Is it coming across that way?
Yes, I think it's slowing you down.
Okay, 1 second. Let's see if I can fix it.
While you do that, I'm gonna say good morning to some. We have some people joining in the chat while you fix that. Okay, really quick. Hey, love. Thank you for joining us, Keyshawn. Hey, Keyshawn was just on with us last week. Hi, Sarah. Good morning. How you doing? Michelle. Hey. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad we're kicking off the conversation today about why nonprofits are best kept secret. Joe, how are you over there? Let's see how.
Hey, listen, I hope I'm doing a little bit better. I can't.
Much better.
Technology has its own mind, right? Hey, listen, but as you were saying, it is most nonprofit, it is the best secret because it's the least resources invested in it. Most nonprofits don't see the big picture when it comes to marketing. They don't really understand in terms of your program strategy. For me, and it should also reflect what we often talk about, Lasheena, your program logic model. It tells the story. It helps you. When you get around, the program logic model focuses on 5 components, right? The problem, the contributing factors, the strategies, the actions, and then after you do all that, what do you expect to get at the end? The program outcomes. That marketing starts to take effect when you're trying to communicate your strategy. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of different ways.
You are breaking up on us.
but there are a few common things that are real nonprofits. You hear me better?
You are
Hello?
breaking up.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let's see if we can join again here.
And while we wait, maybe if you all want to drop in the chat some ways that you market your nonprofit, and because we are going to hear this information today.
Hey, listen, like they say, one monkey don't stop a show. Can you hear me now?
Let's try this.
There you
Go
go.
ahead.
How's that?
Yep, that's good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's better.
All right.
So where was I? Any questions so far? I'm sorry to keep interrupting with my poor technology here, but I definitely wanted to make sure you get the information, because to be quite honest with you, one of the things that hurt nonprofits is being the best kept secret. And you really have to be intentional about changing the dynamics and the paradigm when it comes to your organization with that. It is one of the more important things that can contribute to the success is a strong marketing strategy. It reflects everything that you do in your program. So yeah, Lasheena, we have to talk about the different ways with the group that they can actually avoid getting caught in this paradigm shift where, they're stuck on, doing marketing strategies that are dated, where they're still doing door to door. I know you talk about that a lot of times. Like, those were effective maybe, back when it was safe to go door to door, but maybe it's not so much safe anymore. And we have to think of ways to tap into technology to make it work. One of the things I'll also say, when we think of nonprofit communications and nonprofit marketing, we typically connect completely to social media. And what I'm trying to tell you is, I'm talking to you about something that's not social media, but I'm talking about when you do marketing as a nonprofit, you do what we call social good, because you're creating a couple of different things with your marketing campaigns that's not necessarily mainstream or that's consistent with for-profit organizations, because you're trying to get a message across, right? You're trying to create awareness. And so sometimes, organizations have a little pushback, have different reasons, like maybe, they don't see the connectivity, or, deep down inside, the board, may not actually be as committed to the mission because they may not even be aware to the mission. So there's a couple of types of communications and marketing that's important. One, you need to market to your board to ensure and to communicate to your board what your messages are, your mission, your vision, your core values, and what your strategies in terms of how do you plan on making a change with the work that you're going to do. Those are very key things that you need to be able to communicate, not only internally, but also externally. And the external communication or marketing strategies may look different for different pockets of the community, for different stakeholders in the community. And your program your program activities really dictate what those marketing strategies should look like for those target markets.
I love that. And one thing I know, and you mentioned communicating to the board, but would you say it's equally as important to be able to, I guess, empower the board to be able to tell your nonprofit story as a part of your marketing strategy as well?
Man, it has such a impactful it resonates with the board so impactfully because it does a couple of different things. So if you're communicating or marketing your message and you're getting that message out to your board members, first of all, you're getting your board enough information to be able to carry your message into their sphere of influence. Because typically you pick a board from the 12 sectors, what we like to call the 12 sectors for community change, where you're looking at all these different sectors that's important to the mission and the vision of your work. You have these folks at the table, well, how do you utilize them? It's your communication. It's your ability to communicate those messages to them so then they can therefore take that message to their sphere of influence. Every one of your board members come to the table with some talent or treasure that they can give.
it's your job, and I hate to say this, but to exploit those talents. Some of your board members may be great fundraisers. They may have accountability in being able to sell the services that you are to their sphere of influence. How do you empower them? By giving them good messaging that they can take with them that tells the story of the work that you're doing. But not only that, but also the effectiveness of your program, right? And how much you've been able to change and with the work that you've been able to do in a particular community or with a particular person or at a particular school. And we look at that like individualized strategies that we think about in marketing. And then we also think about environmental strategies. So when you think about environmental strategies in marketing or individualized strategies in marketing, you're thinking about having a marketing strategy that talks about an individual person or individual situation that you want to resolve. That's individualized, right? But if you're thinking about environmental, you might be wanting to change the perception. You might want to of a community. You might have a community that thinks that everybody in the community does drugs when the facts really say, hey, only 10% of the people in this community are doing drugs. But you might want to get that message out. And how do you do that? A lot of times people don't want to invest because marketing costs money. And they feel that they don't want to compete against some of the folks who are doing the same work. But I'll challenge you on that. I challenge you to connect with those folks, and maybe you guys, since you're doing similar work, can come up with effective marketing campaigns that get both your messages out and it crosses a bigger reach. It has a bigger reach to a bigger community. That's called collaborating. However, Lasheena, it takes vulnerability to collaborate. And oftentimes, nonprofits are hesitant about collaborating. But if your marketing strategy is based off doing social good, collaborating with other nonprofits doing similar work should be a lot more palatable to you and something for you to consider in terms of managing your marketing budget, right? So how much of a marketing budget of your thing you're supposed to have, Lasheena? How much money should you have in your marketing budget?
Would I say 20%?
Hey, for a nonprofit organization of $1 million or more, 20% is a good number to have in your budget. A more modest number for smaller nonprofits is around 8 to 12%, depending on what type of services that you're providing or what type of programs that you're monitoring or managing. So it really depends, but a true investment in your marketing and communication budget is a necessity. You have to do it. One simple example, if I don't know, if you're running a summer camp, Lasheena, how do you get parents? To some level, you're gonna have to market.
Right.
How do you get parents to know that registration starts here? It's all a part of the marketing strategy. And who are you going to market to? And what kind of marketing that's appealing to those groups? So it's a couple of different things that you can do to infuse your marketing strategy. But if you consider it and the foundation and the root of your marketing strategies is based on doing the greater good or the social good, then I think you have an effective way of not only communicating your program, but creating awareness and spaces for people to access information.
That's so true. I love that because as nonprofits, it's so easy. We get caught in the mission and developing the program and all of that. You forget about the importance of marketing, and sometimes even that 8 to 12% in the budget isn't there. It's kind of like zero in marketing, and it's not realize how important marketing is, not only just for those that you serve, those parents, those youth, those whoever your target audience is, but also to get the word out to those volunteers, those donors, like to everyone, all your stakeholders. Marketing is important. You must have a marketing line in your budget.
Well, I know somebody's probably on here saying, well, if marketing is so important and most grants don't pay for it, and I don't even have a grant yet, how am I going to pay for my marketing? Well, to be quite honest with you, that's where fundraising comes into play. That's where unrestricted dollars comes into play. And that's where having a diverse budget comes into play. For new nonprofits, oftentimes the first thing that we think about is getting grant dollars. But 9 times out of 10, you're not even prepared, or you don't have the capacity to even receive those dollars because you don't have your logic model done. You don't have your mission already done. You don't have your board already assembled, and you haven't given them their charge so they can be the champions that they need to be for your mission. And so oftentimes what happens is that for the first couple of years, you're at a slump. It's a hit and miss for funds. And so you can't even invest in marketing. But if you look at some unrestricted fundraising approaches, that could be very helpful for a new nonprofit in terms of getting those dollars in the very beginning to support your marketing and communication efforts. For example, in our fund development webinars that Nonprofit Enthusiast provides, we talk a lot about new organizations and new nonprofits not getting caught into this starvation mode, where they're going after grant dollars. And even if they're successful in getting a grant dollar, typically only for a year, which does not give them any sustainability or continuity in the program they want to serve to the communities that they want to serve. So we encourage nonprofits to focus on providing event fundraising for resources, as well as looking at foundations, hospital foundations, private foundations, who are less restrictive on how you can spend those dollars. And you can use those monies to help build your marketing department and your marketing strategies, as well as you can also look for grants that provide capacity buildings for new nonprofit organizations that can support your marketing efforts. But do something, be intentional. I will always encourage you about in terms of what you're going to do about marketing the programs, and also telling your story about the work that you're doing is very important in nonprofit. And I always like to tell people, when you tell your stories about the work that you do, you should tell it in 2 frames of thought. One, the anecdotal, where you're telling actual stories about the work and the success that you're having, but also support that with the data. And that's important in terms of the evaluations that you're going to be doing, in terms of the outcomes that you expected. Did you get them? And if you did, showcase them. You know why you want to showcase them? Because you don't want to be the best kept secret. You want everybody to know the work that you're doing. So I would encourage you, focus in, be very intentional about marketing. I gave you a couple of pointers on how to raise the funds so you can have a robust marketing department, but also it's always good to get support. It's always good to get people who are expert in certain areas. Hey, it's great to be, good enough, but sometimes in some areas where where there's a real need for it, it's always good to reach out to get other people who have the expertise in it to support you if you don't have all the knowledge that you need to have successful marketing communications in your organization. So I definitely would encourage you. The best kept secret is the worst thing that can happen to a nonprofit. Why? Because it's an opportunity for you to lose funding. It's an opportunity for people who need your service not to know that you even exist. And it's also an opportunity for you to lose your passion for the work, because you may somehow think that what you're doing, there's no need for it because people are not accessing. But if you're the best kept secret, how would they know? Why would they fund you? Why would they support you? So Lasheena, I just always would encourage any new nonprofits or folks who are working in new nonprofits, tell your story every chance you get, but be intentional, be ready. And I think Les Brown talks about, hey, it's better a man prepared for something when it comes along, but when it comes along anyway, and he's not prepared. Have your logic model done. Make sure your mission and vision, get your board engaged in the process. Figure out how much money you need. Develop your fund development program and work it. New nonprofits, focus in on what's important in terms of fundraising. In the beginning of your organization, unrestricted dollars helps you get to the next level. Unrestricted dollar tactics that you can use is event fundraising, looking for dollars through foundations and hospital foundations or private foundations. So those are some things that you can do, because listen, your marketing budget is important to your program success, no matter how you look at it. And I would encourage you to be intentional about how you're gonna make sure that you sustain that budget across the period of your work. And so that's kind of like my thoughts. You know, if you have more questions for me, you know, if I need to be more specific, Lasheena, please let me know.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna go over to the chat box. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Let's see where I live. Hey, Zopher, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Jennings says, I want to know more about the 12 sectors of community change.
Okay, that's easy one. The 12 sector community change, when you start looking at board engagements or task force, the 12 sector of community change really talks about who needs to be at the table to carry the message and to work towards the impact that you're trying to create. And that's typically your board members. They're your most significant volunteers, because not only do they help you carry the vision, but they also help you develop it. Not only the vision, the mission, but they should also be very engaged in developing your program's logic model or your organization's strategic plan. And the 12th sector, I'll give you an example. A couple of sectors, let's say if you were doing youth programs, what are some sectors in the community that need to be at the table, who are not only stakeholders, but decision makers as well, and gatekeepers? Who needs to be at the table for a youth program? Well, obviously educators, right? Obviously people who work with social development, who help young people increase social development skills. Parents, optimist football coaches, people who have access to young people. The people of the criminal justice system need to be at the table. The health and wellness folks need to be at the table. So when you think about the 12 sectors for community change, or the 12 sectors that help the change that you want to create in your community, those are the sectors you want to be sitting at the table.
And how amazing is that when you have those 12 sectors sitting at your table, and those 12 sectors are helping you tell your nonprofit story from their viewpoint and help advocating on behalf of your organization. And which is awesome, because sometimes we focus in just on, let's say if we're a youth organization, just the youth, the parents, maybe donors that like to fund the youth, but including law enforcement, those other groups that you discussed can also serve as a way to help tell your story. So Michelle said, who needs to be at the table to carry the mission? Yes, and in the post above, you see we listed some of those 12 sectors: your youth, your parents, business leaders, media, youth serving organizations, law enforcement, religious or fraternal organizations, civic or volunteer groups, healthcare professionals, state and local agencies, and other local organizations. So you'll see those in the chat box. One thing that I love when we're working through, because this all ties back to marketing, we're working with organizations on building their logic model. We encourage these organizations to bring representatives from these sectors to the table, to these meetings. And the amazing thing about it is, because they're there in that process, that buy-in is just wonderful. And they're able to kind of tell the story of the organization, all time into marketing. And we are oftentimes in marketing, we don't think about that. We think about the social medias, we think about going out and posting this, advertising this, but there's also other strategies, some that you shared today, that can be done to help get your word out on a continuous basis as well.
Yeah, definitely so. Lasheena, also too, I would also encourage people too to avoid being the best kept secret.
Yes.
It also remember, as a part of your evaluation plan, you'll have all the nuggets that you need to create the communication and the marketing of your program effectiveness. And when you started, when your logic model and your evaluation plan are very important tools to be able to kind of set the stage about what you actually need to communicate and why you need to be communicated. And a lot of times we miss opportunities to communicate our message, right? So I always say that nonprofits, one of your greatest goals is to be good stewards, right? Not only good stewards to the people that you serve, but also good stewards to the people who provide you resources. And a part of that good stewardship is really being able to communicate to them on a consistent basis your efforts and then how successful you were in your efforts. Even if it's handwritten notes, even if it's a consistent newsletter, even if it's an update, hey, you gave us 25 bicycles. Here are the 25 people we gave those bicycles to, and here are the thank you cards from those 25 kids that received those thank you. And then 4 months later, you send them another note with a picture, say, hey, these kids are still loving the bike. It's a consistent marketing strategy that is intentional for every target audience in your group. And all those target audiences are identified when you're developing your logic model. So I would just encourage you folks to invest in the basics. It's like learning how to play basketball. You want to learn the fundamentals before you start competing, right? And this is what we're trying to express to you today. Get these fundamental components to your organization development, and it will be smooth sailing for you. All the pieces will fall into play.
That is awesome. So one thing is, I think there's a lot of points, very good points that you brought up today. And if you do not have a marketing or a marketing budget, hopefully after this conversation, you'll consider, and the good thing that I like is we also gave you strategies to get that budget. If you don't have the funding, using unrestricted funds and raising unrestricted funds to help pay for your marketing efforts. So if you don't have a marketing budget, take a look at that and see how you can build one and start somewhere, have something. Because a lot of times as nonprofits, this is the part that we lack. And when I say we, I was there as well. When I started my nonprofit back in 2012, marketing, it was all focused on programs, trying to build the program, getting the words out, knocking on those doors, pinning up those flyers. That in-person marketing was the big focus. But now we have, social media and so our website. And that's
gas is $5 a gallon.
And gas is $5. Yes. You can't just be knocking on doors and driving around trying to. That's so true. You might as well invest that into getting your website. One thing I do want to mention, website is a whole nother conversation because there has been plenty of times that funders has said to me, I looked at your website and they'll say like, oh, all the information I needed, I saw it there, or, I'm good. Or they come and they already feel like they know us because we have that website hub. I personally strongly encourage nonprofit organizations, especially if you're a newer one. I know a lot of times we like to start with the social media pages, but I personally encourage you all to start with the website. Have your website up, because at the end of the day, we had this happen. Remember last year where social media went down. And where will people find more information for you? And then you can use your website as the hub, having your social media pages on there. And that's something we help with as well, as creating that website, making sure that it's able to tell your story. So I will say, start with your website. That's just my, I've seen that it work. I've heard funders say they go and look at website, especially if they're, let's say a university or on a campus that have a block. A lot of times they can't get to your social media, but they can get to your website. So just consider that if you don't have a website, have something, start with the website and then those social media pages. That's my advice to a nonprofit getting started, and try to figure out how should I tell my message. At least have your website up.
Yeah, and a part of the strategy too, just to piggyback what you're saying with the website, is there are also tactics that you use to drive people to your website.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just enough to have one. Again, you don't want your website to be the best kept secret either.
Right.
There are marketing strategies that we like to employ that will actually drive traffic to your website, so then people can get a full knowledge of the work you're doing and not just one post in a social media thread. So I think that, just as an add-on to that, Lasheena, it's very important that, those strategies are a part of what you do in the marketing and communications area.
Yes, I totally agree. So anything else you want to cover before we head out?
No, unless folks have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer any questions or.
Yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat box. I'm glad we're able to kick off. So this month, our theme is marketing public relations. And I like to say, if you're like, I don't know, because nonprofit, we know there's so many different priorities that you can have. And you're like, I don't know where to start. Follow our themes. Make this month your goal to build your marketing and public relations area. So this is just a kickoff of the conversations that's going to be occurring throughout the month. We'll be on Nonprofit Enthusiast Live, sharing different tips, having different guests on, and diving deeper into marketing and public relations. So with that, your homework is, if you don't have a budget, try to see how you can get that into your budget, a line item for marketing. And then the other thing is, if you don't have a marketing strategy or some type of marketing effort, if you feel as if you're doing that door-to-door knocking still, and you might not have a certain marketing strategy or communication plan, start thinking about what that can look like. And if you need help, we are always here. You can check us out, nonprofitenthusiast.com. Schedule a consult. You'll either be with Joe or myself. And we're here to help you along the way. So as we always say, you don't need to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. You have the help and support here, ready to help you. So with that, last week we set a goal, and I don't know if you know this, Joe. So last week we hit our 500 in the group. Yay, our 500 mark. I believe when I last checked, we're up to 522. And then it was funny because we kind of put it out there. Well, what do we want our goal to be? And I remember Keyshawn was on, he said 1,000. In the chat box, they said 1,000 within a week. So with that, we did not meet our goal this week. We did get up to 522, but we are still going to go ahead, just like, in the organization, we're going to still go ahead and push through. So go ahead and invite a friend to this group, someone who, if they're a supporter of nonprofit, if they're in the nonprofit industry, take a moment right now, go into the page and just click the invite button and go ahead and invite a few friends over to the group, because we're going to hit this goal, y'all, and we're going to keep working towards it. So other than that, is all.
Have folks from the the group been signing up for the free consultations?
Yes. Yep, we've had some that have signed up for the free consultation, some that are working with us now, so that's exciting. And so we're here to support you all on your journey. We have, coaching services. If you just want to start out just with the coaching once a month with us, you can do that. And then we have organizations that do that. They come in and they'll start out with the coaching services and then build out to our logic model or our fund development services or our marketing services and so forth. Either way, we're here to support you and help you, and know that you don't need to do it alone. So fortunately, yes, we have been able to work with individuals in the group. So that's been exciting.
And this would be a great time if, some folks on the call who already got their logic model, their mission and vision, if they haven't got that already done, we can support you there. But also, if you think you're ready to go after grants, we can also help you with your grant boilerplate. That's one of the things that we've worked on with the organization that's really helped them in the grant writing space. So just a FYI.
You know what? That's a good point. See, you always, that's a really good point, because I'm going to tell you all about this grant boilerplate. So it's something that our on Love Our Youth, on our nonprofit side, about a couple, let's say, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, we developed this grant boilerplate, and it's a service that we offer here at Nonprofit Enthusiast. And I'm going to tell you all the benefits that go beyond a grant. So in this boilerplate, we're doing things such as, building in the logic model, having our marketing strategy in there, our sustainability plans, things that a lot of funders ask for. We built it in there. And the perfect thing, and I'm telling y'all what. So long story short, once the boilerplate was built, we used that and we sent it over to our web developer and then updated our website with that information. And it a lot of times, number one, our Google searches went up. So we've had organizations throughout the nation, corporations that we're still working with now, that just literally said they Googled us. They went on our website. We got more words on our website now, and we're telling our story more on our website. They Googled us, they found us, and we're working we just finished signing a proposal with them and in the process of developing a new one with them now.
Like, so you're not the best kept secret.
We're not the best kept secret. Nope.
Hey, that's the whole goal.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up that grant boilerplate, because sometimes it's thought just for grants, but no, we use it in so many areas.
Yes, when filling out grant applications. Yes, when we're doing fundraising efforts and want to tell our story, but we also use it for our website, our social media, telling our stories that way. So that document is absolutely amazing. If we don't have one, I do encourage you to get one. And the other thing about that, we were able to leverage that document to volunteers that came in to empower them to be grant seekers. So we always have an expert grant writer on our team that will help guide them, but they're able to kind of, if it's, let's say we're filling out an application, they go into the grant boilerplate, we'll have our, let's say our students that come in that's still learning, all they got to do is go copy and paste it. We have a whole system to it, but that's something we could talk to y'all about later. But there's a whole system to this thing where we have a team and we're able to leverage those volunteers and interns that come in to support us in that grant arena, which a lot of times we hear organizations talking about they spend brands on grant writers, but imagine being able to do that in-house because of an amazing document such as the boilerplate. So that's just my
logic model, which includes a logic model.
Includes the logic model for your program team and
Yeah.
your program side. I mean, I'm telling y'all, it works. It really does work, and it also helps in other areas, not just grants. It helps with this marketing aspect, because a lot of times when I say a lot of times, because I've been there too, we get stuck on being able to communicate our story, and this maps it out so well because for us, not only just for funders, but also just other stakeholders being able to use it in other portions of our organization.
But Lasheena, do you mind if I give you a few props?
Yes, sure.
All right.
I like props.
You like props? Okay, good. Well, I mean, just not just you, but to you and your marketing team.
Right.
You guys were intentional about your marketing strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have almost 600 people in your group.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were intentional. You refuse to be, I mean, you can't be the best kept secret with the work that you want to do. If we empower nonprofits to be the best that they can be, then they go on to empower communities and individuals to be the best that they can be. Right. And so, like, to be intentional about how you communicate, how you market, and who you market, and how that's marketing, you're a prime example of what we're trying to share with folks today about not being the best kept secret.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
You don't get that often.
And here's the thing though, ultimately, because what drives us is we want to be able to help more nonprofits so that they can help more people. It's the same thing with a nonprofit organization. You want to be able to serve more. So I have to learn that, like, get out my way and go out there and tell the story of the organization, tell the story of what we do here so that we can help more. So ultimately, that's our goal. You know, if you want
social good.
Yep, social good. Creating social good, being able to serve more, whether it's families, whoever your clientele is, you have to market, because you're not doing them any justice if you're not, if you're kind of you need to no longer be the best kept secret, put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Lasheena, I appreciate you letting me be on, and I look forward to coming on again. I'd love to talk about brand identity next time, maybe.
Yes, I think we could.
That's very important as well.
In the next few weeks, we would love to have you come back on and talk about brand identity. So
hey, listen, if the folks have me, I got to see a thumbs up from the folks if they want me to come back and talk about brand.
Joe a thumbs up to let him know that he needs to come back in the next few weeks to talk about brand. Yes, I see the hearts. There we go. Thank you, love.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, then I guess I'll be back.
Okay, he'll be back in the next few weeks talking about brand awareness. So next week we have okay, I see Michelle putting the thumbs up. Dolly got her thumbs up. So yeah, you're gonna be here next week. Danita, I see you, Danita. I love it. Yes, so Joe will be back, right? In the next couple weeks.
Okay.
So next week we have Jonathan coming on. He's going to talk about using Canva within your nonprofit organization. Then Joe, we'll have you coming back on. We also have Jalen, who's going to be talking about public relations and focusing on public relations at the end of the month. So every week, you all tune in. We have some amazing guests that's going to continue to come on. And we always love, Joe, your family. so we love when you are on with us as well. So you all stay tuned. We will see you next week for Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. Thank you, Joe, for coming in. We'll see you.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, awesome. Bye, everyone.